Hello, everyone. My name is Guy Swenson. I'm an educational leader here in Orange County Public Schools, and I want to give a presentation today about creating your professional brand. I think this is something that is essential for all educational leaders. And I'm going to skip to the very end just to give you a hook as to why you should watch through all the way this presentation. And that is what I'm advocating that you do today, that you just take 15 minutes a week to do everything that I am advocating for. So, in creating your professional brand, I'm really going to focus on posting on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I have found that a lot of people think it's just for finding a job. That is not true anymore. It is its own social media platform, and there's a big, vibrant educational leadership community that posts and talks about their leadership at their school. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do in literally minutes a week. So let's go ahead and get started. But isn't a brand something companies have when they sell products? Well, that is true. That's one big objection that I have heard when I talk about this, but I'm not talking about creating a logo and having colors and taglines and whatnot. I am really talking about who you are as a professional. And Jeff Bezos has a great quote, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. I love that. I really think for myself that is more applicable to the word your reputation. And so I've reworked it just a little bit for myself, which is your reputation is what other people decide about you without your input. I think that's actually a really big statement to say. And what I'm going to talk and teach today is that your brand is what you decide to communicate to others proactively about your leadership. And so in education, your professional brand is what you communicate to educational leaders in OCPS before they even meet you. I am going to kind of highlight the before they even meet you portion, but this is also about continuing and growing the relationships with people that you already know. We all work in 200 different work locations. We don't get to see the work that we do every day. And so you might as well tell them what you're doing. A mentor of mine years ago said, if you don't tell people positive messages about yourself, others will create negative ones for you. So why not do this? Right? So a lot of people will say it's all about who you know. It's the biggest complaint. The board docs come out on Tuesday. You see who has new positions, and people complain. It's all about who you know. Well, that's right. And my response for the last 20 years in educational leadership has been, so get to know people. Get to know them. Stop complaining that it's all about who you know. So get to know every single person that you know. And so by doing so on LinkedIn, it's completely free. It's evergreen, meaning that it works for you while you're sleeping. It works for you all day long. You're not going to one networking activity. You're not meeting somebody one time. This is something that is available 24 hours a day for free. And besides, remote networking is not a compromise on real networking. It's actually a power skill. It's a power skill that most educational leaders are, in fact, not doing. And if you follow what I'm advocating for you to do today, it will truly put you at the very top of what the educational leaders are doing. And it will put you in front of decision makers, and others aren't doing that. So here is my agenda. You will learn how to build a professional brand, highlighting your educational leadership that will get you noticed by the right people. There's the key. Why a professional brand is important, which social media platforms, how to create meaningful content in minutes. That's my promise. How to align your posts with the goals of our district leaders. So I want to pause there just for a second because that truly is the most important part, is how to align them with what is important to the district leaders. How to engage with other educational leaders account, how to create a routine. I love a good routine. And then there isn't really a question and answer session at the end because this is a recording, but here we go. So just a little bit about myself. I am an OCASA board member. also the communications chair. I've been in education for 29 years. I manage 3 different social media accounts: my school account at Gotham Middle School that I work at currently, the OCASA account. Oh, that one's been a challenging one to kind of get off the ground. And then I am a small business owner. I'm a wedding officiant here in Orlando. So on weekends, you'll find me marrying couples and having a great time doing that. And so I've created that social media account. All 3 of them have completely different audiences and different purposes, which has really taught me a lot about social media strategy. And so I've learned from the national thought leaders about how to leverage social media in the small business world. And what I wanted to do with this presentation is really bring what I've learned from that area and bring it into educational leadership. All right, some definitions. A professional social media account is about you as a professional educator. This is where the genesis of this entire presentation came from. We were in an CASA board member meeting, and I was talking about posting on your professional social media account. And people asked, well, what is that? It's not your school account. It's not your personal account. It's who you are as a leader. So in my case, it would be Dr. Swenson Instagram or whatever platform it is, where it is only about you and your leadership. It is not about your school, your students, your community. It's about you. The 2 main platforms that educators use really are LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm not going to focus on X Twitter today. I think it has a bit of a different purpose. I think LinkedIn is much more accessible. I want to make this presentation, what I'm advocating for, to be very accessible, very doable for even someone who is just starting to do this, or someone who is like, I don't do social media. What I am going to teach you today, you can do, I promise. Few educational leaders are on Instagram and TikTok. You might find some funny, like the Gary Brooks that we always like to watch his videos. That's a completely different purpose. The audience for your professional account is not your parents, your students, your community. It is the school and district leaders in OCPS and beyond. And so I'm focusing on LinkedIn, but first, let's take a look at a few posts. So here is a post from Jose Martinez. Actually, I've been following Jose for quite some time now on LinkedIn, and he actually does post better than anybody that I know. And so I just want to look through what he's got real quickly here. We recently held our first face-to-face principal meeting of the year. In addition to reviewing college and career at a glance and some other things, and including a powerful conversation around the Guiding Coalition, I shared some key reminders with the leaders. Keep a focus on students. Organize with intention. Always come back to your purpose. Marketing and visibility matter. Share your story. Ironic that he posted that, and that ties right into this entire presentation. And so you see in the orange here on the right hand side where it says what, when, where, and who. That's what everybody does a great job of. They show pictures, and by the way, the pictures are on the bottom left. I cut them off. It doesn't really matter what they are. It was pictures of the principal's meeting. But people are really good at explaining what is in the picture, but they leave out the most important part, which is the leadership actions. And that is where Mr. Martinez really excels, because when you post on the regular and you include your leadership actions, and it could also be your philosophies, your beliefs, it could be anything like that. When you include that, now you create a portfolio of what you believe as an educational leader. That is much more extensive and much more compelling when it comes to storytelling than any resume could possibly be. Now I want to include the comments that were on here. I looked up all of these leaders here. They're not an OCPS. And I just want to point out a couple of things here. The very first comment, a strong kickoff like this sets the pace. That's a great, meaningful comment. I want to highlight those words, meaningful comment. The second one, a great list of reminders. I wouldn't consider that to be a meaningful comment, but the last one is particularly good according to some leaders coming together with such intentional focus on students, purpose, and collaboration. This is a great, meaningful comment. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, but I just wanted to highlight it here. And I want to point out one other thing that you can't really tell from this post, but each one of those comments was liked. And who was it liked by? Mr. Martinez. So what does that mean? When that person wrote that comment, he saw it. And there's the gold. There's the gold that I want you to mine from this presentation today. If you comment and you like someone's post, they are going to see it and they're going to notice it. And if you do this with any regularity, this is how you network with them, and this is how they get to know you before they've even met you. That's incredible, right? So, key takeaways. He took some simple photos. They're not all there's nothing really to write home about in those photos, pictures of a meeting. He explained who, what, where, when, and where. He described his leadership actions, most important step, and he furthered his brand messaging. That is great. And that's what makes him truly one of the better posters on LinkedIn. But wait, I don't have time and energy to go around campus looking for things to post. I don't even know what to post. Well, that's why you're here. I got you, and I'm going to give you a very easy way to do this so you don't even have to think about that. All right. So in a social media strategy, we call them social media content pillars. These are what I would call them your categories, the categories of what you should post. And I'm going to advocate and teach you today that you should determine 3 categories and stick to them. You can have more than that if you want, that's okay. But I'm giving you what's doable and what's very easy for you to replicate starting tomorrow. So the first category should be choose a goal from OCPS. Second category, choose one goal from the superintendent or the deputy superintendent. Third category, choose a goal from your school. So in the orange box here are my suggestions. Number 1, PLCs and collaborative teams. That's not going anywhere, and that is exactly what we should be posting about. Why is this? Because if your audience are the district leaders, the decision makers in Orange County Public Schools, then, if you are posting and indicating that something is important to you and it happens to be important to them, that is how you align your posts and your educational leadership to what is important to them. That is key. That is exactly what you do in the small business world. As a wedding officiant, I am posting what is important to the future couples that I want to connect with. I've learned what their pain points are. I've learned what's important to them, and I make sure that my posts align to them so it speaks directly to what they care about. We're just using social media strategy here in this context. Number 2, connectivity. I actually took that from reading all of the Sunday messages from Dr. Armbruster. If you read those on every Sunday, you will see connectivity is a big deal for him. And that's something that we all focus on our campus. Number 3, at my school, we focus a lot on positive behavior intervention support. So PBIS, it's really important to us. And so if you follow these 3 categories and you think to yourself, this week I want to post something about PLCs or collaborative teams. Next week I'll post something about connectivity, and then I'll post something about PBIS, one each week. So how do you do that? Well, PLC, take a picture of your PLC meeting. If it's your Algebra 1 PLC, and then you can talk about here's our PLC, the who and where, when, why. And then your leadership actions. What did you talk about today? What problems did you solve today? What issues did you have? Maybe you want to celebrate some data that just came out. Maybe you want to talk about a challenge that you had that you've now solved. But the focus isn't celebrating your team. The focus is highlighting your actions as a leader about PLCs and collaborative teams. Okay. So here's an example that I wrote. And this is exactly what I did. I'm giving you all the secrets. I reached into my phone because since I manage social media on my campus, I take pictures of the campus all the time. I reached into my phone and I made this post just for this presentation. And I found this picture of our kids, and they're at a silent disco that we did a month or so ago. And then here's what I did, and this is the secret, lean in. I used AI. I typed in a really good prompt and I said, this is a picture of my kids doing a silent disco, and I want you to write a post about connectivity and also explain why connectivity is important. And then boom, that's what it gave me. Now, if I were to critique this post, it's a little on the generic side. It feels a little too AI for me, but that's a great place to start. And this really is now advertising, marketing to OCPS what is important to us at our school. And it also shows that something like a silent disco isn't just a fun thing to do that now you're taking classroom time away. It's actually has a purpose, it has an intention. And so we've got some intentional educational leadership happening on our campus. All right, example number two. Again, I went shopping in my phone again. I looked for a picture and then I decided what I was going to write about for this picture. So, this is a picture of the other assistant principal at our school, Jermaine Thompson, and his area that he supervises is PBIS. And so, I explained what's going on in the picture, which is we have a store called the Grizz on Friday in the cafeteria when you earn bear bucks and you get to buy candy and other things, and kids love it. But then I also, the leadership actions at the bottom, which is explaining, clearly defining expectations, increasing student and staff interactions, motivating self regulation. So it's explaining why it's important. Again, this one, it's a little on the bland side. I might want to tell a better story with it. But again, I wanted to show you by just typing in a prompt into I was able to get something really great to start with. Now, how can I turn this into 10 posts? I can turn anything into 10 posts. And let me talk about that in just a second. Use your photos that you already have, photoshopping. Choose one of your categories, your content pillars. Write a caption that explains what the viewer is seeing. Include leadership actions, philosophies. Use AI. And if you're like against using AI, here's the thing: everyone else is using it, and you truly are the only one that isn't. So let me get back to how to turn one post into 10. I can make an entire series out of PBS. Maybe my next one, I'll include some data. Maybe I'll brag about a student who improved their behavior. But again, I want to point out the post isn't about the student. And don't include the student's name, don't include their face. The post is about how your leadership as a supervisor of PBIS it has improved a student's behavior because of the actions that were taken at the school that you led. That's the focus. All right. And important to note, don't worry about posting too much about the same topic. Research does show that generally only 20% of your audience ever sees any post that you show. So you can truly post 10 times about PBIS. There isn't anyone that's going to be like, oh my God, Guy Swenson's posting about PBIS again. Chances are maybe they haven't seen it. Maybe they have, but now they're also seeing, wow, PBIS is really important to them. All right, so I created an example, and this was actually my first post on LinkedIn. Even though I'm advocating all of this, I don't use LinkedIn like I should. If I could go back in time, I would have been using LinkedIn like this for years now. But I'm mostly taking what I've learned from small business and bringing it to education. So I posted, and I took a picture of us in our Guiding Coalition meeting that was led by Principal Emery. I wrote a post about it. The second paragraph, it's okay. It doesn't really give leadership actions as good as I would really want it to. But I wanted to show you who actually reacted. So there are some people on here. For example, Raheem Jones, he and I are colleagues. We really professional acquaintances, if you will. But now he's read my post and he liked it. And if you know who Scott Fritz is, and he used to work at OCPS. So here's all these educational leaders that have now read this post and they went ahead and liked it. And here's something that I think you really need to understand. And that is when people are posting on social media, they want nothing more than other people to either like their post or comment on it. And so that's actually going to lead into one of the action items that I'm going to give you. Here's an example that could use some tweaks. I left who posted it off. I don't want to make it about this person at all. I really just, and I don't even want to say this is a bad post because it's not a bad post. It's a post that could use some tweaks. So they do a really good job with explaining what is happening in the photo, which is it's filled with innovative math leaders as they explore solutions to common barriers they are facing. But there's some really big missed opportunities. And here's the missed opportunities. Well, one, they had an excellent intro paragraph, but what are the common barriers? Why didn't you list them? What leadership actions did you take? Describe the path forward, describe the solutions. So you took the picture, you explained what it is, but you didn't really get into the part that's the most important, which is to highlight your leadership. Remember, it's not about the people in the photo, it's not about the meeting, it's about you and your leadership actions. But this sounds like a lot, and I don't have any time for that. I get it. Common objection. But here's where I'm going to get to what I'm promising for you. Do these things first. Number one, update your About section on LinkedIn. I'm going to give you the biggest tip ever. This is a hot tip. If you haven't been writing things down, go ahead and write this one down. I just wrote my About section in LinkedIn. I didn't have one. And what I did was I copy and pasted my resume into my favorite AI, which happens to be Gemini. And I wrote a really good prompt that said, here is my resume as an educational professional. I need you to write an About Me section for LinkedIn that highlights my leadership. And then I said, make sure to include these couple of things. Okay. So it turned out great. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it whatsoever. You can do this in 15 minutes once a week. Here's the routine. Plan a time on your calendar once a week. For example, Monday during first period. That's always a quiet time for me, so this is a great time to do it. Spend 2 minutes scrolling and liking posts. That's it, 2 minutes. Then 2 minutes after that, comment with one meaningful comment. Let me tie back to what I meant by meaningful comment. It needs to be meaningful. Don't just say awesome, make something meaningful. And just do that once. You don't need to comment on everything or everybody. You could get into stalker territory. Spend 10 minutes making one meaningful post. You could also repost from a colleague or you could post a quote, but that does take the longest amount of time. You got to find the picture. Hopefully, you got pictures in your phone or go around campus and take the photo or attend a collaborative teams meeting, take a photo. Write that post, have AI help you. And then here's the kicker. I love this. 1 minute. Enjoy the fact that no one else is doing this, but you are. So 5 actionable steps that you can start tomorrow. Follow all of the leaders in LinkedIn. Follow every single one of them. Don't be afraid to connect with them. They're going to connect right back because they want more followers. Create the routine and schedule it. Like and comment on posts. Post once a week. You don't need to do more. Someone once said, and I've got this question here, what's the ideal number of posts? The ideal number is 1 more per week than you are doing now. So if you're doing none, start with 1. I don't really think you need to do more than 2, maybe 3 at the most, but I just advocate once a week is plenty. And my question to you is, if you aren't doing this, well, why wouldn't you do this? So it's a recording. We don't have a question and answer. I hope you really got something good out of this. I hope that you see that it's easy and doable for you to do. And you are welcome to follow me on LinkedIn. And I promise I'm going to like your posts and I'll even give you a meaningful comment and you can do the same. So thank you, everyone. And I hope you really got something out of this. All right. Have a good one.